I have begun painting the hull, which you can see here. Obviously it'll take 3 or 4 coats, but the shine is pretty good, so I'm happy with that. And also I've been busy with the mast. I got the whole mast coated with the gray Interprotect after I sanded the whole thing down with 80 grit and then used a solvent wash on it. And let's see if I can rotate it. The other side, I have already put on a coat of, what's it called, epoxy coat, which is, I think it's called epoxy coat. That's the regular 2-part primer from Interlux. That's white. So I'm about to put on the white epoxy coat on this side, and then I will begin with Interlux Perfection Arctic White. So I was able to get nearly all the hardware off, which has been nice. I thought more of it would be galled in place, but I was very happy to see that, because that'll look sharp when I put the nice polished fittings back onto the white mast. So I now have 3 coats of flag blue bright sides on top, and starting to look pretty good. It is going to have to be wet sanded quite a bit. It's kind of orange peely. Tomorrow I think I'll put 1 more coat on. I don't know if you can tell in the video, but you can just see a little bit of mottling where the lighter color shows through. I also have put on a new white boot stripe, which is the Interlux Perfection on top of their epoxy primer. So this is an epoxy paint that's going to be good and hard. Starting to look pretty sharp. Mast is coming along nicely, I think. This is the Interprotect, and then the epoxy prime coat, which is the epoxy primer, and then 2 coats of the Perfection epoxy paint. And it's a little washed out because it's so bright right here, but it's really nice and shiny, and this is just applied with a brush. I'm very happy with this. I think once I get that polished hardware back on and my new varnished spreaders, wood spreader, is going to look nice. This morning I've been pulling new wires through. Okay, please excuse the background noise. There's a lot of people running machines around here today. So the port side, I've now got 5 coats on, and besides the 600 bugs that landed in it, I think it actually looks really good. Better than I expected. And this is, of course, before any wet sanding or polishing or waxing. This is Interlux Brightside, and then the boot stripe is Interlux Perfection, which is the same stuff I used on the mast here. So this side is done, minus washing all those bugs off. This side here has 4 coats, and I just finished sanding the whole thing with 320, and I'm about to tack cloth it off and painter's tape the boot stripe, and then we'll get the last coat on this side too. Well, here she is, looking pretty good. Got the red bottom paint on. This was kind of my original vision in my head when I started working on this. Of course, I'll need to wet sand and polish and wax. Hopefully that blue will become like a mirror. And from the other side. And there's an outside chance we'll get put in today. So then all the focus will start turning to the interior, the top sides, and the plumbing and electrical and everything else. The mast is all done. prepped, trussed up like a long skinny turkey, ready to be stepped. All these thin green lines are messenger lines that I've installed to pull the real lines through later when I figure out exactly what I want. The Interlux Perfection looks great. Got a CDI furler that I was able to buy used to hold us over until we can get a better one. All new wiring, all new lights, spreaders been sanded down, and 3 coats of the West Systems epoxy with the clear hardener, and then 2 coats of spar varnish, new spreader lights, boots. One note I should make, I guess, is behind this location where the steaming light is, there's a big screw. I forgot to film it, but probably 5/8 of an inch in diameter on the surface. That screw actually does nothing but hold a plastic loop on the back, which is used to attach the wires and probably take some of the strain off of the weight of the wires. So if you ever go to pull your wires out and they won't come, they're probably tied to that loop. I don't know how unusual this is, but on this boat, where the upper shrouds come down and meet the end of the spreaders, there's a sort of metal fitting with a dent in the end, and then there's crimped on sort of, I don't know what it is, lead or something, some soft metal onto the stay that's supposed to sort of key into that dent. And there's 2 holes in the end of the spreader here that accept this small diameter rope. Now when I disassembled this last fall, the rope was in really rough shape, but I was kind of able to get a sense of how it was tied. So I'm giving this a try. I think it's just there to roughly hold this in place. I think once you have, the rigging tightened, it will probably somewhat be in the right place. But essentially what I did was I started by putting a double half hitch on the one side of this lump, immediately going through a hole, doing 4 or 5 tight winds around the other side, coming back through the other hole, 4 or 5 tight winds on this side, and then once around to kind of squeeze it tight, and then a couple half hitches here on the end to keep it from unraveling. And then of course spreader boot will go over and hide all this. So I guess we'll find out whether that works.